Guess we'll all go to bed a little smarter tonight. Fact of life. Because here's another truth that you should all know. I've been studied my whole life. Doctors worldwide have checked the CAT scans, the body scans, the entire thing. Doctors know. Not once was I ever labeled with a mental illness. Not once. Fact of life. On top of that, even the Ottawa police and your own guards, how many times did you stick me in prison? For months and months and months at a time. You had the chance to study me yourself. Where did I ever lash out for no reason? Someone with schizophrenia will lash out for no reason. Another fact of life. While I lived in BC, after I separated from my ex-wife, I spent 5 years on the streets. How come not one report that I, Mr. Poulin, did anything wrong? Fact of life. I've been outside. I went to your schools. I played sports with most of you. Not one report did I ever lash out for no reason. I'm a heck of a lot smarter than you think I am. It's a little scary that a human being survived all this and lives to tell about it. Because like Obama tried to tell me, what if you do lash out at us, huh? What if I do take all that and I want to revenge? Why do you think he keeps asking me, so do I want to go to war with it? The thoughts are there sometimes. Yeah. But you're gonna have to trust me forever. Maybe that's one way God gave me power. I didn't ask for that power. Like I said, I'm an entertainer and I'm backed up by major unions of Canada and the United States. The choice is yours to buy my stuff or not to buy my stuff, to view me on the channel or to change the channel. But the choice will never be yours onto how long you're going to keep watching me. I don't live in prison. I don't live in a hospital. I am a free man. Get used to it. Because technically speaking, in the last 3 years, aside from the one I hired to do a job where she did a damn good job at doing, the world was not allowed to jump in. The world was not allowed to try and provoke me just to see if I'll stick it to you in the next show. Provocation is against the law. Stephen Harper made us a promise. He said he'd beef up his police force. Where's the beef? The prime ministers and presidents, even the queen, they're not afraid of me. They watched me for a very long time. They know what I do. And that's a fact of life. My shows, my words are very scary. Stop scaring me, and I'll have nothing to write about anymore. Stop trying to turn it around. Like I've said in the past, all my Stephen King books are based on true stories I lived myself. Fact of life. Why would you try and take one of my stories and then come attack me with it again? Where's the common sense in all that? Where's the humanity in all that? Torturing a person is against the law. And provocation that goes on for years is the worst kind of torture. Now, if I had been schizophrenic, I would have went to war with it. But since I was army trained and very well educated, I win. So, where's my money? Fact of life, it's owed to me. Pay up. Because you know the next step in a civil matter that we're actually having right now with the Ottawa provocators is every single Ottawa police officers will now know what it's like to work for half their salaries. It's my right to garnish all your wages. Do you really want it to go there? A lot of you are going to be pissed off. You're not going to be able to make ends meet. You're not going to be able to fork up the monies for your own mortgages. But that is my right to bring it there. All I want for Ottawa to do is offer me a counter offer. And it has to be, I'll tell you, the simplest thing on the planet to do. It has to be able to cover what Ontario is covering. I lose Ontario's help the minute you give me some money. So technically speaking, I told you $1 million and it's all over. I get to go live happily ever after on my own. It's real simple, huh? It doesn't take a high school diploma to figure that out. But because the harassment hasn't stopped, you Ottawa police officers have to understand that my next step is garnishing your wages. And the judges are on my side this time. For those making $30,000 a year, dropping down to 15 grand a year, it's not real cool, huh? I don't like that. You guys risk your lives every day to save our lives, even though you got it wrong on me 1,000,000 times. Look how cool I still am about it. You have the power to rake up that money, more than I do. You have the power to rake up some kind of fund suit and then hand me that. You really do. There's 35,000 of you. I'm alone. It'll make for a good Stephen King book up in the future. But for now, let's settle this. You will never provoke me enough to take my own life, and you will never provoke me enough to hurt someone else. I never have, and I never will. Be smart about it. It's the only way to go. Or wait till I die and you owe me the entire $250 million. With the world on your backs. Ball's in your court this time. Your choice. One last little thing, because this one will also air on YouTube, because it goes directly to the newscast. You know I speak with the news and media. My head and my entire body has been scanned, checked, and psychologically checked also in the last 6 months. It's not scheduled to be checked again for 2 years. Get used to that. Fact of life. I can't leave this city without the money. Judge is waiting. and so am I. Like the way I mediate? I have no choice. Because every time I called you guys for help, you stuck me in prison. You thought I was crazy about it. Defamation of character and malpractice. You proved it to the judge without I even having to do so. I played by the book, by the rules. And I will continue to do so the entire rest of my life. Whether I die by the time I'm 40, or whether I live to be 80. I've never been a criminal, nor do I ever intend to be one. Fact of life. In my movies though, hey, sometimes I play a cop, sometimes I play a criminal, sometimes I play a psycho, sometimes I play myself, the musician. Huh? You want to know why I play so many roles? Did you read my biography? Did you watch my 3-hour biography show? That's the reason why. When I die, I'll die as an entertainer. So the world behind me will get the choice to decide if it was real or not. Like Elvis, is he really dead? We get to choose to decide, right? Heaven, does it really exist? It's our choice to believe it, right? For now, in 2013, my bio is 100% real. And so is this lawsuit matter. 20 years after I'm dead, let the public decide. It's kick-ass entertainment no matter how you look at it. Won't be known as a terrorist. I was terrorized more than anybody else on this planet. I survived more than anybody else on this planet. Now I use it to have fun. And to make money. Because these videos, they're selling like pancakes. I have 4 TV channels. Fact of life. Pretty cool, huh? I reach the entire world when I speak. So do the right thing. Springtime's come. I'd like to break ground somewhere and dig for my foundation. Fact of life. Another skill I want to show the world. I'm going to build an entire 5,000 square foot house by myself. To actually die as the architect you all wanted me to be. Pretty cool, huh? Over and out. Actually, on this video, before over and out, take this chance right here to explain to you my Stephen King books. 1, you guys still call him sometimes Stephen King. Look how I spelt it. My mother, when I was a child, asked me never to call myself Stephen. Stephen is like the devil in the Bible. So I called myself Stephen. S-T-E-P-H-E-N. Do you want to know why E-N? Huh? I dropped the A. And I put the E in front of my N. You want to know why? Because if you spell out Stéphane in French, huh? And you read it as an English person, you read Stéphanie. So harassment started way back then. It still happens once in a while that people call me that. I didn't like it. So I changed it. I respected my mother by not putting a V for victory. I wanted to put a V in there for victory. But instead I dropped the V idea and I kept the PH. Everybody wants a PhD, right? Look how smart I am today in the medical world. I had to study my own bubbles to be able to one day be able to talk about it. To be able one day to back myself up if you thought I was a terrorist. Fact of life. Now I know I've talked about this in the past, but I'll talk about it again in this video. Okay? I'm going to start with my favorite book I wrote, It. I wrote It because when I was a kid, I kept losing my friends. Not because I was a retard or something like that, because my friends kept disappearing. They'd move on, they'd go do something else, they'd go live elsewhere, so they wouldn't be in my class, in my school classes anymore. My neighbors would disappear. It happened with Michelle, she disappeared, right? It happened with Eric in grade 1, he disappeared, right? It happened with Annie, she disappeared, right? Those were all great friends of mine. All people that I was opening up to disappeared. Well, I didn't want to write that I was a coward about it. I didn't want to write a story where, what was going on? But I was afraid. I was damn afraid. I was wondering why. So instead, what I did is I made myself the clown in the story because my uncle kept making me laugh. So I wanted to make it funny and spooky at the same time. And that's how I wrote It. If you take a look at the movie It, you can see all those people were my best friends. In the book, in the story, in the movie, I end up killing them. I take the blame for it. Why? Well, because God says, right? We went to church and God says we have to forgive our trespassers. We have to do all this thing. We have to look inside of us and blame ourselves and take the blame for ourselves. As a kid, I wrote that book. So I tried to find weird, cool ways that I would kill them. But these people were already gone. Fact of life. That's how I wrote It. Because I was afraid that I'd never be able to keep a friend. My friends were always disappearing. Fact of life. That's how I wrote It. That's a crazy story, huh? A sacrifice. Hey, the one wife I did marry, you see, huh? She was afraid, terrified of clowns. I didn't want to tell her, see, I was that writer. She would have never forgiven me. But fact of life, I did write It. For those reasons. Then a little while longer, I wrote another one. Another story. I wrote The Stand. In that same project where I used to live, where all these people disappeared one by one. All my good friends one by one disappeared. I didn't want to make the same kind of story. So I made something different. We all know here in Ottawa, those crows, they're real, right? I even got some images of it not too long ago. And they roam by the millions, right? They go over Innis, over all that section, and they fly over Ottawa like clouds, huge, huge clouds of birds, black, black, black. It goes dark, even in the daytime. When it happens in the daytime, it goes from daylight to whoa, all black, dark. From daylight to black, 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 dark clouds. And this used to happen in our little project on Carson Road. Fact of life. All my friends there, they'd be able to vouch for it. We saw it happen quite a few times where we'd hide on my mother's step in the corner house and we'd watch it happen. It was like, whoa. We thought we were being invaded by some kind of weird, freakish thing. This would always happen right after major fog. So we'd go outside, we'd look outside, and there was a lot of fog. It just rained. Created a fog, steam kind of look outside our windows. Fact of life. In there I wasn't a clown. I didn't really kill many people. But mysteriously, they disappeared. Fact of life. I took a world phenomenon, a nature phenomenon, for that book, for the idea in that book. Fact of life. To get into the more personal stuff, how was Misery? You all loved Misery. In every single movies though, the actors, if you look at them, their profiles are exactly the people I grew up with. And that was just so in case one day I'd have to prove it. Sucks, but fact of life. In the movie Misery, Miss Claiborne looked a lot like what my mother used to look like a long time ago. They're spooky stories, but these are facts that we lived. These are things that we actually lived together as a whole bunch of us. In the movie Misery, the book Misery, I wrote it because my stepfather was very aggressive and very violent. Every time he drank, he'd turn on us and he'd be real mean. Now in the movie, we only portrayed it as my older sister being in there. So it was my mother and my older sister in the book, because it was too real, I guess, for society. Hey, I lived it. Fact of life. The thing is there, we never killed the guy. My mother never killed the guy either. He's still a free man today, doing whatever the heck he's doing, who knows. But nonetheless, he got real violent when he drank. Now listen to this. In that book, the mother breaks off his 2 legs and buries him alive. Okay? That's a fact of life. It didn't happen for real, but in the book, it's a fact. Okay? That's how we wrote it in the book. Back then, I truly wanted revenge on that man. And you want to hear a fact of life? God broke both my ankles. So if the world is afraid today because I'm speaking about my books, I want to reassure you that nobody fears God more than I do. He pushed me off those monkey bars somehow with the wind. He somehow flipped me in a baseball field and shattered my ankle. There's no scientific explanation for these things yet. Fact of life. He then shattered my other ankle as I knocked on a door to try and sell something. So it was like God trying to tell me, hey, entertainment only, or he'll send me to hell right away. Fact of life. In the Misery book, they were actually supposed to write down 3 of us. There was 3 of us in that story. But they just kept my older sister because God knows why. Fact of life. I wrote it because I was afraid of him. He kept like 20 22s under his bed, and he kept threatening me with it. So I thought up, yeah, well, I'll write a story. And I'll catch the world's attention, and I did. Fact of life. I wasn't sick in the head. I was afraid. So I took every single one of my fears and I wrote them down on paper. Then a publishing house put it together and sold it to the world. Fact of life. If we jump into Werewolf, Werewolf was written because I went to a priest at Saint Louis Marie de Montfort, and that priest did not want to believe me. The priest didn't want to believe me, and I had no daddy. So what I did is I wrote that the priest was a really, really bad man. How did he become a bad man? He became a werewolf, and he attacked women and children and all kinds of stuff all over the place. That spooky movie is alright, yeah. But I lived it. They're written just a little bit differently to make it a little more entertaining for you, so that you don't one day come to me and feel all pity-ish and all that crap. Because nobody on the planet could empathize with me. You might be able to sympathize with me, but you'll never be able to empathize with me. And that's a fact of life. The only man who suffered a little more, or not even more, but a little close to what I suffered is Jesus. And he's been dead for 2,000 years. Now those books sold millions of copies. 100 million copies to be exact, if not more. And there's more. There's a heck of a lot more. Like right now, I told you I was writing the cockroach story. I'm writing the cockroach story because look, you see this here? It's a lump in my neck. It scares me to die. It scares me to face death. Like it scares most people on the planet. So what I'm doing right now is writing that this isn't cancer. It's a cockroach that installed itself because I drank too much. Because a lot of people complained and were afraid and got mad actually at the fact that some of these boats were arriving in America and were arriving with cockroaches in their bags of rice and stuff like that. So in the next book, in that book there, that's what you'll read about. How the cockroach installed itself in America over a boat where me and a bunch of guys are actually camping and drinking. That's what that book's going to be about. Now, I didn't write these books in order for you to think I'm going to go out and kill these people like the clown. That's not what I did. The world scared me. Some on purpose, and some just naturally circumstances. So what I did, and I was taught to do this by your best doctors on the planet, is to write it down so I can't hurt anybody about it. Fact of life. Real life experiences that you made me live, I write down in a crazier story. My love stories, they were bought by someone else. I might never tell you which publishing house wrote my love stories, because that might cause a huge catfight. But nonetheless, I'm also writing another love story, the flower story, how one became. I was never harassed with my love stories, but my love stories kept my musician inside of me going, and I was all about music. Writing and composing was what you have to do in order to be able to perform. Fact of life. Now with these stories that I was writing and these pictures that I was drawing, a lot of people were afraid. Oh, maybe he is schizo, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Huh? Or maybe he's going to turn around and hurt somebody. So doctors took it upon themselves to study for themselves. And they're the ones that gave me the tricks and more psychology books for me to read about. I had to study this whole thing in order to be able to produce it and release it. Now I'm stuck having to prove everything and having to answer to all your questions. But nonetheless, I've told you before, I write what you made me live in a freakier kind of way when it's about my spooks. So everywhere the planet has scared me, I wrote better as a form of entertainment, not as a form of retaliation or as a threat. I did it to make money. Like Charlie Major sang, you know, I do it, I do it, I do it for money. Well, that's what I do it for the money. Now I still have a lot of trouble getting my money, but that's because Obama has a lot of trouble understanding that I don't want to go to war with it. I don't want to build a nuclear plant on my property. I want to build me a little house, have funds for food, send all those children that think they're mine to school. That's what I want to do. Have me 2 horses in my backyard in the garden. That's what I want to do. Fact of life. Right here in America somewhere. Don't matter. Right here in America somewhere. It don't matter to me. Where it's warm would be better because of all my bobos, for sure. But that's a fact of life. And it's time that I speak out about it. Because holding it in is just causing more terror. And so if the world knows who's behind all those stories, then the world will be less afraid. The king part in my name was self-proclaimed for a little while, up until millions and millions and millions of copies sold. People worldwide love that form of entertainment. And people worldwide know that it's only entertainment. I lived long enough to be able to talk to the world about it and to let you know that you can feel safe. Those kinds of tragedies don't really happen. They happen to me. And to this day I know that some of the tragedies I suffered stemmed because they wanted more stories. Fact of life. So in one way it does suck to be me at all, completely. But in another way, it's time for that police to start protecting me. Now most superstars, they have bouncers around them. If I haven't been paid yet, I don't really want you guys to start spending money into bouncers and stuff. I'd rather take that salary from me. It's gonna cost $500,000 to build my house. But nonetheless, I'm approaching the end of my career. And to see some kind of fund in the end is technically the only reward I want. I can't ask God for the most perfect, gorgeous woman to land on my lap. I can keep playing the game, eventually meet the one I want. That I can do. But as for my career, the only thing I can do is ask the world to please trust me with just $1 million. You can keep the rest and invest it whichever way you'd like to. Put 2 new teachers in every school. Hey, I'm up for that. Fact of life. Buy a round of beer for everybody on planet Earth. Because you know there's that much kind of money with it. That's a fact of life. Help a few other good people that deserve to be helped. Another fact of life. But you cannot ask me to be 100% normal all the time. That's impossible. I lived in fear for 80% of my life. I know I'm still going to live in fear for 80% of my remaining life. Now we're done with jail, right? And that's a good thing. Because nothing scares me more than being locked up in a small little cell. And that's another fact of life. But I don't come up with new stories. Right now I do live here in this little apartment, and you all know where this one is. Because I've been talking to all of you. But that was the basis behind my stories. And the main reason why I wanted to talk to you about it is because you can't go around and start telling people that I'm schizo and oh, he thinks he's someone else now. I am Stephen King in English. In French, they call me Stéphane Poulin, le vrai de vrai. This world's best entertainer ever. Who suffered more than Jesus, but lived to tell about it. I will ask the world one little tiny thing. Please, after you see my productions, don't try and make me relive it. Go find someone else to act out my stories if you want to make more movies. As for the movies I'll be part of, we're working on that right now. There are only 7 characters I'm willing to play. And so those databases are being built, where I'll have my face. Because I want to be known as the greatest rock and roll star ever. That's what I want to be known as. I want to be known as the one who did meet his gorgeous lovely up on top of the world, up on stage. That's what I want to be known as. And if in English all my work that I've done doesn't pay, I'm going to be forced to go back to the French world. That sucks. I became an Englishman because the French were scaring me. Don't send me backwards by you guys doing the same thing. That's what I'm asking for. Hope this was helpful, and I really know that one day it'll be aired on other channels other than my own channels. And that's kind of cool. I don't want awards, but I love the red carpet. I just don't have a gorgeous lady to take with me. I was invited to the red carpet a dozen times in the last 6 years. I haven't been able to make it because I got no extra money, and I don't want to walk it alone like Tom Cruise does. I want to walk it with my Taylor Swift beside me kind of thing. Over and out. And last but not least, the reason why we produced and sold those as entertainment books and movies and stuff like that was because I knew that without me, all we'd have to try and test or scare ourselves with would be Friday the 13th, which is actually one of my lucky numbers, and Nightmare on Someone Else's Street, because I'm tired of living with my nightmares. The only two comparison to what I write. So the world, Nightmares on Elm Street, Freddy. Kind of spooky, but wasn't that spooky compared to what I wrote. And then Friday the 13th, Jason. I'm almost sure I know who wrote them too. I'm actually trying to step out of that box. Fact of life. They are saying that there's a lot of money stored on these books and all these stories and these movies. So technically you're not allowed to do whatever you want with it. Until there too I see at least $1 million. Once for my entertainment, my books, and that's aside from the lawsuit though, that's something totally different. But once you hand me $1 million and I store it in my account properly, then I'm most likely going to let you do whatever you want with the rest, in hopes that you put it to good use. Fact of life. Stephen King. Stefan Poulin, Over and out.